the Black Pyramid. It's a story. It started in the 1990s of a pyramid buried underground near Mount Denali, which is formerly Mount McKinley, that is supposed to be twice the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And basically, what happened here is in 1992, this was just before I got stationed in Alaska, uh, there were geologists that were performing seismic tests because China was doing some nuclear testing. So they knew this bomb was going to go off. And so they wanted to do some seismic testing. And when those shock waves hit the area, one of the things that they discovered was this pyramidal structure underground in the Mount Denali area. This report aired on Anchorage's Channel 13. But there was no follow up to it. There was no follow up report on Channel 13. Other stations weren't carrying the story. It was just kind of like a one and done. Where did it go? So a guy in the Army up there, stationed at Fort Richardson, Doug Munchler, decided to go down to the station, because he's contacting people he knows. Hey, did you see this report, this news report? Tune into the news, see if you see it. So he got curious about it. Goes down to the station, and they tell him, we never aired such a story. And so he's basically turned away. It's very bizarre. As he's walking out the door, one of the junior staff members comes up and tells him, we actually did air that, but right after we aired it, these other guys showed up, confiscated the tapes, made off with them. They didn't want people knowing about this Black Pyramid. So it's been a very controversial topic because you don't see the physical evidence out in the open. It's not like you can go up there and be like, hey, there it is, because it's underground. Now, for the Alaska Triangle television show, they flew up into that area and kind of took a look around. Again, you're not going to be able to see this thing from the air because it's underground, but they did see in that area evidence of previous human occupation. So, some different clearings, a road that goes to nowhere, a runway that's that's overgrown now. So, human activity.
Or at least the last 60 years, varying reports about a giant underground power plant in the remote Alaskan bush have occasionally made their way to the surface of media and public consciousness. What makes the stories even more incredible is that the structure appears to be a massive pyramid, larger than the Giza pyramids, and that it is at least thousands, possibly millions of years old. The structure is apparently located west of Denali in a region near McGrath, Alaska, and is kept secure by limited access and a small military presence. Looking at a map, it's curious to see the approximate location in relation to a highly documented purported UFO base located inside Mount Hayes, which is also in the Denali Wilderness area. Are the two interrelated? That remains unclear. At least one electrical specialist reported in the 1970s that the structure was ancient and produced enough energy to power all of Alaska and Canada. Whether the exact energy produced or conducted by the Black Pyramid is electrical or of some other nature has not been confirmed.
Again, how do you prove that it's for the Black Pyramid? That's kind of dicey. Other people have kind of come forward over the years to provide additional information on it. Some people believe that there's extraterrestrial connections to it and things like this.
On February 9, North American Aerospace Defense Command detected an object on ground radar and further investigated and identified the object using fighter aircraft. The object was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight.
Right now, the government is working to identify yet another object in the sky. There have now been 3 objects shot down in a week, and there were worries that a 4th might have been spotted in Montana. A U.S. fighter jet working with the North American Aerospace Defense Command also shot down an object over Canada Saturday. It comes just one day after the U.S. took out an object over Alaska.
There have been countless UFO reports in the Alaskan Triangle. as well as alien-related conspiracy theories. For example, in his 1997 book, Remote Viewers, The Secret History of America's Psychic Spies, Jim Schnabel writes of a secret alien base in Mount Hayes, where apparently similar events to what you see in Stranger Things occurred. In 1986, a Japanese cargo plane traveling from Iceland to Anchorage was allegedly followed for over 400 miles by unidentified flying objects. The crew reported being pursued by flashing lights. Even air traffic controllers picked up something unidentifiable on their radar, apparently as close as 5 miles from the plane. The pilot claimed they saw one mothership and 2 other smaller ships flying. Apparently, these ships were appearing and reappearing out of thin air. According to the pilot, this was happening in such an abrupt manner that it was unearthly. All attempts to evade, maneuver, and get away from these UFOs were fruitless. They tried flying at lower altitudes, doing various different turns, bobs, weaves, every kind of crazy thing you could possibly do in a plane at the time, and these things just kept following them right on their tail, but never getting too close.
Then you also have, talking about underground bases and what have you. There's Mount Hayes, which is supposed to have an underground ET base. So you see these different mountains in the Alaska area that have a number of these different legends associated with it. Black Pyramid, Mount Hayes, UFO base, and things like this. If this is true, okay, I'm going to throw this back up there, because it is possible that this thing here in Antarctica is a pyramid from a long ago civilization. It's officially an unnamed mountain in Antarctica's Ellsworth mountain range. But again, we're talking about, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago that Antarctica would have been habitable. We talked very early on in this class about how there's if you drill down far enough, you come across jungle vegetation. So it would have been warm enough for people to live, to build structures like this. So the Black Pyramid, one of the ideas is that it had been a power plant for the area up there, and even in parts of Canada. Kind of like the idea of the Giza power plant theory by Christopher Dunn, that this is very similar to that. It would have been powering the area. The land masses used to be in different places on the earth. They used to be closer together. And we've named it Gondwana. So Alaska, Egypt, Antarctica would have all been closer to each other, having these different pyramids kind of lining up, which is kind of an interesting thought.
Another ex-military visitor to the site stated that some sort of energy discharge prevented the navigational instruments on his helicopter from functioning within certain distances of the pyramid. Does this interference also prevent photographic or video evidence from being gathered? There is evidence that the pyramid structure can gather ambient energy from the Earth itself in a way that is still a bit of a mystery to researchers. A small Russian pyramid has been observed to somehow collect or funnel energy from the Earth itself. And while the popular notion that the Giza pyramids in Egypt are tombs still persists, there's mounting evidence that they were likely power plants using acoustic information and global ley lines to generate energy of some sort.
In 1945, Ivan T. Sanderson, a Scottish biologist and cryptozoologist, published an article called The 12 Devil's Graveyards Around the World. In this article, he wrote of 12 equally spaced triangles on Earth's surface, where strange things would happen in high frequency. These triangles, known as vile vortices, are characterized by electric, electromagnet, and magnetic abnormalities. These anomalies are thought to be capable of everything from causing compasses and other electrical instruments to malfunction, to triggering confusion and hallucinations in people. Search and rescue workers have reported experiencing auditory hallucinations within the Alaskan Triangle while on their searches. They compare this sound to being similar of that of a swarm of bees. Some people even believe vile vortices to be portals to other realms, dimensions, or even worlds, explaining why ships and aircraft disappear without a trace. The main 12 vile vortices are the Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Sea off of Japan, the Algerian megaliths, Hamkulia volcano in Hawaii, the Indus Valley in Pakistan, Easter Island, the Loyalty Islands, the South Atlantic Anomaly, the Zimbabwe megaliths, the Wharton Basin, and the North and South Poles. Although the Alaskan Triangle isn't a part of these notorious 12, it's widely believed to be an area heavily affected by electromagnetic ley lines. The same can probably be said for England's Stonehenge. Some seem to think that the stones got there in the first place because of the ley lines. This is also said about the other megaliths, such as the Easter Island monoliths, because the origin of these heavy and unique structures are widely unknown. There are also other theories and rumors that aliens could be responsible for many of these things that we see around the world that we don't seem to have answers for.
So how is this structure built and why? And by whom? Does it literally generate energy or conduct it in some way? What is the black material used to create this mammoth structure? The questions surrounding this giant underground megalith are many, and those who seek to find answers are not met with easy access to information, with some reported to have even lost their lives in attempts to cross the Alaskan bush to enter the underground area. While new topographic satellite footage indicates the pyramid may not have been constructed underground, but has likely been overgrown with thousands or even millions of years of environmental encroachment. The sheer size of this mysterious power plant still leaves a host of unanswered questions. While fragmented evidence of the massive Black Pyramid in Alaska continues to mount, more questions are raised than answered. Is this truly a multi-million-year-old power plant built by an ancient and advanced civilization? And why do certain interests continue to keep a tight lid on the discovery and potential implications of such a megalith?
Lastly, I just want to talk about HAARP. Everybody, asked about HAARP whenever we start talking about Alaska. So the question is it used for weather control, mind control, that sort of thing? Well, its purpose is to send radio waves up into the ionosphere and kind of quote unquote excite the electrons. They have created an artificial aurora with this thing. So therefore, if you're able to manipulate enough of the ionosphere to create your own aurora, can you change the weather as well? Well, that's kind of the fear with this thing. As far as mind control, Dr. Nick Begich, who wrote the book Angels Don't Play This Harp, he's also the son of the Nick Begich who went missing in 1972. I use a lot of quotes from him throughout my text, but this one is kind of interesting. He says, a super powerful radio wave beaming technology that lifts areas of the ionosphere by focusing a beam and heating those areas. Electromagnetic waves then bounce back onto Earth and penetrate everything, living and dead. And so depending on the way you kind of tweak that wave, you would be able to manipulate, it's penetrating everything living and dead. You could feasibly manipulate the living and creating different feelings and sensations within those living organisms. So this is where the idea of mind control comes in with that. Now, again, no longer run by the military. It first went into operation in 1993, and then it was 2014, if I'm remembering correctly, that it shut down for basically about a year, and then the university took it over full time, and they're still doing tests and experiments up there and what have you. Well, okay, fine. The university is playing around with it, but I don't believe the government's interest has completely gone away. Think about this: 1993 to 2014, it's a little over 20 years. How much has technology advanced since 1993, over a 20-year period of time? They learned how to manipulate the ionosphere with this thing. Well, we've seen the advance of computers and technology make our devices get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So what if there is a smaller version of this thing running around out there? Maybe it's mobile, maybe we've shrunk the technology of this device down into the van, or or maybe a truck or something. Or is it even the size of a cell phone now? I don't know. Of course, one of the reasons it was put up there to begin with HAARP is the electromagnetic activity from the ground in Alaska. Go all the way back to the beginning of this class with the U.S. Department of the Interior. They know those anomalies are up there. They're harnessing that. They're using it to manipulate and affect the ionosphere and weather and affecting other parts of the world. Maybe.